So Rav Merev's son, Rav Merev was having Rav Berland over his house every Motzi Shabbat, every Saturday night in Israel when I was there. So I met Rav Merev's son and stepson a few times. A kid in the army, just looked like a beautiful, simple kind of kid. So he was just killed in a terrorist attack like a week ago. And Rav Berland said that his son, the stepson, was like a high soul, and he had taken it upon himself to die like for the team, like in a mystical kind of way. This is a big thing we hear all the time in Kabbalah. A big tzaddik, a special person, they sort of like make a deal with God that they're gonna die in order for the rest of us to be saved. Kind of lahavdil, like the real version of Jesus died for your sins. We obviously don't believe in this Jesus business, but the idea was right. The idea that someone could die for other people's sins, we're really into that in the real Kabbalah. So that just happened the other day, and Rav Berland said there's a lot of stuff that was on hold, and that when that young man, he was very young, 20 or something, when that young man died, it freed up a lot of things to move. I really felt it. I felt like some kind of like real opening a couple days ago. So there's an idea that everything in our life we like agreed for beforehand. You know what I mean? Like say we have a hard time with our parents. Like we knew when our soul was in heaven before. I don't know if you guys can hear me, man. This like airplane is so loud. That somehow before we're born, our soul makes a bunch of deals, and in other words, the reason to think that way is that nothing's coincidental, and nothing's like whatever happens in our life, we somehow agreed to it beforehand in a mystical way, right? Now, even if we can't prove that, even if we can't prove that's true, there's still the idea that whatever happens in our life, we're responsible for it, even in a more New Age way. Like, like for instance, if we're dating someone, no one's forcing us to date them. If we have a job, no one's forcing us to take a job. You know what I mean? In other words, like, it's one of Rav Berland's main teachings, not to put the blame on anything for anyone else. Never to blame other people for anything else, to take all the responsibility on ourselves. If a job's not working, take the blame on ourselves. A relationship's not working, take the blame on ourselves. Anything in life for us to take it on ourselves, I'm talking about my rabbi, Rav Eliezer Berland, who I think is probably the Messiah, So, in terms of this mystical stuff, people do this a lot. They'll try to prove that something is mystical is true, or try to prove that something mystical is untrue. Like my friend just recently, we'll call him G. You guys, everyone has to know G. He'll be a big tzaddik in a couple decades. A lot of my friends don't like to be represented on the internet, so we'll have to use code names, but everyone should get to know G. I'm one of my best friends in Jerusalem. So he was telling me about this thing, I'll continue in a second.